What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Last Principles. I'm your host, MA, and we are doing part 2 of my interview with Trisha Lee. This time, we are going to be talking about purity culture. Big old long subject there, because that's a whole. How long? What time is it now? What time is it now?
It's 10:48. Yeah.
This is wow. This is gonna be a little party here because it's a lot.
To be fair, I warned you when we were messaging. I was like, "Heads up, man. Heads up."
I'm down. I'm with
my
it.
story's a lot. This is a lot. It's all.
I want all the smoke. All the smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easier, I think, if you're not a Kingdom kid. So, and if you aren't connected to people in leadership, like it's just a whole lot easier.
Indeed. So, let me ask you this, Trisha. If someone were to ask you what exactly is purity culture, what would you tell them?
A shackle around women's necks. I'll say females' necks. I'm gonna clarify that. When I say female, because it starts early. It starts very early.
Yeah.
That's really, that's what that's how I would describe and explain it. I mean, because I don't know how to explain it for guys, but for females, it is just this very long list of don'ts that varies for each person based off of personality, body type, who your parents are or not, who you know and who you don't know. So there are so many facets even into which rules apply to you and which don't.
Yeah.
But then it's also, I unfortunately also view it as a form of spiritual abuse.
Yes.
Because there are things
totally agree.
That to this day, I really, really struggle with because of that. And mind you, I grew up in an Indian Asian family. And anyone who grew up in that knows, like, you got the aunties where, like, if you gain 5 pounds, you got that. So,
oh my goodness.
I already had like that stuff I can like struggle with. Oh, it's like you get your first pimple, they're like, oh, you're like, you're breaking out.
I just finished watching Miss Marvel last, like over the weekend. I finished it.
I have yet to watch that, but
Yeah, they went into it a little bit, but I could tell I was like, this is some, and this is why I hate that whole, not to derail into a completely other thing that I could spend a lot of time on, the whole calling things woke just because, they dare to respect, that's groups of people who aren't male, white, Christian, and straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, no, it's not woke. It's just showing you something that's not centering you. Like, yeah, exactly. I wasn't the target audience of that show, and I still enjoyed it, and I still got something out of it. I enjoyed seeing different aspects of a culture that wasn't mine, and there's tons of stuff that you would probably catch that went over my head. I'm like, I know I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel alienated by it. I was like, hey, this is just a life that isn't mine. I'm getting a little bit of a piece of it. But yeah, to bring it back to what you were saying, like I very much picked up that vibe of this is how Indian aunties are. This is how, because I'm not sure if she's Indian or Pakistani. Like they probably said it in a way that would have made sense to you, but like for me, I wasn't sure which one was which. But
I haven't seen this. I can tell you.
Yeah, I do. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and the cultural aspect of it's not a huge difference. So you're fine.
I got you.
I was like to clarify in case any Indian or Pakistani sees it. I'm not saying the same. I'm just saying the way that we're all raised is very similar.
Yes. So there was a lot of, oh, you won't get a husband acting like that, or all this other kind of stuff. It's just like, wow.
Yes. Oh yeah. So anyway, I grew up with that, but ironically enough, that is not what has traumatized me more. It was the purity culture I had to deal with from 13 until I left the second time. So early 30s. Wow. That got me. So I would definitely say it a self-esteem, self-confidence breaking, trauma creating religious concept.
Damn, that's a lot. And on top of the fact that when you said a shackle around, as soon as you said shackle, I thought, and not because of the Mary Mary song, but I thought, shackle around your ankle, like slavery in a sense, which I guess still applies. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you said shackle around the neck of women, girls and women, I'm like, ooh, that hit hard, and that just got me to feel. I already knew it was a serious thing for y'all, but like to put that imagery on it was just like, ooh, it's worse than I think it is.
And this is why I specify too that it really does vary to all those aspects I mentioned earlier, because there were things I was constantly rebuked about, shamed about, disciplined about, that like my cousin, I call her the younger, she's like 6 months younger than me, but like my cousin never had to deal with. Yeah. And it's purely based off of our physical differences.
Yeah.
And our different body types. And so there were definitely, if you were one physical body type, you could get away with a whole lot more than someone like me. Because then there was also that spiritual shaming that went into that, where it wasn't just don't. It was then you are the cause of this. You are causing that. You are the reason for this as well, in all of that. That I don't think many people either know about or understood.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to what, on the guy's side of it, and again, I think a lot of men don't understand that this is negatively affecting us. So the pressure that's put on women to not make us struggle. I think people overuse and misuse that scripture of like, don't cause somebody else to struggle. It's better to throw a millstone around your neck and throw you in the ocean. I'm like, first of all, that I'll have to go back and look, but I do remember reading it again and thinking this is being taken out of context here. To apply that to, oh, well, that means that you should make your brother struggle. You're not responsible for how my mind reacts to you. You're not responsible to how didn't Jesus say, and of course he was speaking figuratively here, but
if your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off.
Right. That's telling me, bro, that's for you to handle. That's for you to work out. That ain't on her.
Spoon. Go for it.
Right. Ooh. All I can think of, there's actually, did you ever watch The Walking Dead?
Yes.
So remember how Michonne, spoiler, I ain't giving no spoiler alert for something that came out like, this is something that happened.
It's all done.
Right. It's all, the last subsection of a season is coming up. That's about it. But remember Michonne stabbed the governor in the eye with a shard of glass? That happened a whole lot more differently in the comic. She captured him and trigger warning for mutilation and torture because he had raped her. She got revenge and she like tied him up, was plucking his fingernails out.
Ooh, dang, girl. Although I
nailed his thing to the floor. And pluck one of his eyeballs out with a spoon. That's what as soon as you said that.
That's what Jesus was telling people to do. I mean, not the first two things.
But yes,
I'm just saying what Jesus said.
That's what he had said. That's what he said. But yes,
he's in red.
His point is that's on us to handle that. So it's just like, all this, oh, y'all got to wear this and that to keep us from struggling, or taking it a little bit further, oh, because he did this to you, what did you do to make him do that? Whether it's a grope or like rape or anything like that, like what did you do to make me do that? I may be giving us a little bit too much benefit of the doubt. I might believe in us a little bit too much. I think we're better than that.
I mean, I think I heard the best retort to that of like, well, guys can't control themselves. And it was if lesbian women can be in a dressing room or a changing room filled with women getting naked and coming right back out from it and not once touched them, what excuse does a guy have?
Right. And same thing with gay guys. Like they don't go
after y'all.
They don't go right. No. They don't go after us. So you
use the man concept.
Right. And that's another thing. Like straight men understand consent when it comes to a gay man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, so like all of this is like taking so much responsibility off of us. You know, if you have a trigger, like somebody else may trigger you, you had the trigger in the first place.
Yeah.
You got to deal with that. So yeah, I just think it paints us in the light that we should be painted in. Like we're just some uncontrollable animals who can't control our lusts, who just have to act off of whatever we feel or whatever we see. That is not the case.
Yeah.
I believe in us too much to think that's it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that a great example too, which ironically enough is in the Bible, is when David decided to, I think we're calling her Bathsheba. Maybe it's because she was in a bath.
Was it Bathsheba?
You know, Bathsheba? Yeah, calling her Bathsheba. Okay, we're gonna go after that.
I think that was her name.
I think that's her name. Yeah, that or it's because she was in a bath, and that's what we're calling her now. But like, or the Bible called her. And so, but you know, David's doing his thing. He sees her bathing.
Yeah.
Now, he could have walked away.
Yeah,
he did not. Walked away. He initiated all of that, and then decides to kill her husband. But when, you know, the prophet of God came, he didn't go after Bathsheba and go, "Why did you do this?" He smacked David upside the head and was like, "What the hell did you just do?"
Yeah, what did you do?
Like, he put it on David.
Yes.
Like, it was David's, like, you were the one who looked. You were the one who went after her and did it again. You were the one who impregnated her.
Is there a plate I can pass right now?
I know,
Can I pass a plate? Can I pass a plate? Where's the organ? Where's the organ? No, my wife has a tambourine in here. Where is it?
That is fantastic. I like that.
Anyway,
has a tambourine.
Just imagine
I know, right? But that's the thing. Like, it was completely on David, and David was known as a man after God's own heart, but it was still on him. It was his choice, his responsibility, his actions. It had nothing to do with her. Now, she had her own thing because she was like, yeah, let's do it. But at the same time, but then there's also that power dynamic as well that also possibly.
I was about to say, I was like,
he was the king.
Was she so like,
what would have happened if she said no? You know, but then she's also like, oh, my husband is in war. What if he does something to, like, I mean, so there's also the power dynamic that may have been in play.
Yeah.
You know, so not trying to take responsibility off of her, but you never know. That was a thing.
Yeah.
But it was still on David. So how is it that we want to say, or the church wants to say, spiritual, Bible, but you're putting all this responsibility on the females? Well, even in the Bible, the responsibility was on the man.
Yeah.
We're just pissing people off today.
Let's do it. Piss them all off. I don't
call
care.
It out. Like, you know, why is it my responsibility? Like I mentioned in those previous relationships, why was the fault on me?
Right.
And not on them?
Yeah. Let me ask you. So with in those situations, did anybody ever talk to them about that?
No. So when, oh my gosh. So in the first relationship, the one where, you know, and even that one, you know, was a pressure on me, you know, in all the in multiple ways. So when I came out and shared it, confessed it, that this had happened, I was told I needed to call him and give him the heads up. So that was a fun conversation. Like, hey, so I confessed, I talked about our things, heads up. You know, and his response was, oh, and I was like, so I don't know, I have to talk about it. Like, you're going to need to talk about it as well. His response was, oh, but my dad already knows. So what now? And he was like, oh yeah, you know, after we broke up and you moved, like, I told my dad about it. And so I was like, what? And so I shared that, and I'm already like, is that who's a disciple in you? What the hell? And, and so so while I'm like, then of course getting constantly rebuked and reprimanded by a room full of women. I say a room, it was like 4 or 5 women, but still, constantly, when I was like, okay, well, but, so what's going to happen with him? It was, well, if his father already knows, then he's already gone through it.
Not necessarily.
No. It's same thing. And then
he might have already been rebuked. He ain't got through it.
He ain't go through it. He did not go through it like I gone through it.
Right.
And it was kind of the same thing of, when I, was kind of having that weird friendship-y thing with my second ex-boyfriend. Years later, I had gotten the, all the talks and all the things. And I was like, well, what about him? Oh, well, the brothers are talking to him. Coming to find out, not really. They were just like, oh, yeah, stay on your little path. But no one was talking to him really about his relationship with me and having his own accountability.
Yeah.
And so that has always, at least in my personal experience, been the thing where for me, it's my fault, my responsibility. I'm the villain in this situation. They're the poor, woe is them male victim. But they're not really getting told, hey, you need to stop. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
So that's from my own personal experience where it's been, hey, he's fine. But you.
Right. What about you?
Yeah. And so how have you ever had those experiences? Because I feel like, and people talk, have you ever been in that kind of a situation, or guys where maybe there is you're a bit more than friends, but you're not officially dating because that's frowned upon.
Right.
Do you guys get talked to? Because I know even in my friendships with just brothers, I've been talked to countless times about it being inappropriate.
Yeah, a lot more trivial things, but the same thing. So, you mentioned you would get pretty much ganged up on by several sisters about what happened, right? Mm-hmm. So that same thing I would say does happen to brothers. I'm not going to try to say to a comparable extent or not. I'm gonna just say what I've seen. When it happened to me, it was always really small stuff. Like, for instance, there was I wasn't even a month old yet as a disciple. I'm at a Halloween party. There were some sisters who, I'm in Tallahassee at the time. There were some sisters who visited from Miami. And so I'm at the party, and there was one sister who I kind of had taken a liking to. I was apparently dancing, not close in, not like bumping around with nobody, nothing like that.
Was there not enough space for Jesus?
No, there was plenty of space. There was plenty of space for Jesus, but apparently I was in her space too much. Like say if we're at a party and I'm dancing with you, right?
Yeah.
We're not touching, that we're not up on each other, but I'm dancing with you too much. I'm dancing in your, I'm in your, like you can tell, hey, I'm feeling you. I want to dance with you. Mm-hmm. So I get pulled to the side by a brother I was kind of close to, saying, hey, you're kind of, there's one of the sisters, like you're kind of, she's saying you're dancing too close to her. Not too close to her, but you're being around her too much. Mm-hmm. And of course he wouldn't tell me who it was at the time, because I'm like, I want to make sure I'm not, I kind of knew in my head, but I want to specifically know so I can not do it again. I also want to apologize to the sister. I would find out like a year or two later, because I was talking to him like, hey, remember that situation? Was it this sister? He's like, yeah, it was that sister. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Now that was the one of the milder ones. Now I was about a year and a half later. I'm dating at this time. The only girlfriend I've ever had other than my wife. So like I had a huge gap of things just not working out. Anyway, so we might have been dating 2 weeks maybe. And I decide that I'm going to just try to be a sweet boyfriend. I'm calling her knowing that she's not at home. Cell phones are not standard issue at this point.
Yep.
So I call her at home because I want to leave her a message. And I sing on her voicemail, I just called to say I love you. Seems harmless, right?
Mm-mm. Shame.
Yeah, but yeah,
shame,
pretty
shame.
much.
Mm-mm.
So I get talked to at church at midweek by my campus ministry leader, telling me that made her uncomfortable. Now, I'm not judging her for that making her uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't. I'm losing my words here. I don't understand how it made her uncomfortable, but I respect that. Hey, what makes sense to me might not make sense to you. It makes sense to somebody somewhere. So I'm not knocking her for that. What I am knocking is the fact that, why are you not coming to tell me this? Why am I hearing this about somebody who wasn't even there? Why am I hearing about this with somebody who's not even in our relationship? All right, so my campus ministry leader talks to me about it, and that wasn't too bad, right? Then later on, my actual discipler comes to talk to me about it, but he pretty much doesn't really lay into me about it. He's like, oh, so did such and such I know he already talked to you about this, so I'm not gonna talk to you about it because there's no need for somebody else to talk to you about it as well. I was like, okay, cool, I appreciate that. But he tells me that somebody else was supposed to talk to me about it too. So my girlfriend was a team worker. So the team ministry leader was also supposed to come talk to me about it, but he never did. So I potentially was supposed to get talked to by 3 different people. Fortunately, only one person did. But again, I'm like, one, praise God for the mercy there, because I'm like, that would have been weird as F. But why do 3 people who aren't my girlfriend need to come talk to me about something that in my eyes was harmless? Like, cool, yeah, if it makes you struggle, cool, tell me, we'll work it out. Like, I'm not trying to minimize how it made her feel. But why are people who aren't you talking to me about this?
Yeah, I was going to say, because then, of course, the logical question is, did she ever talk to you about it?
I think the most that ever happened with that was me apologizing to her, and that was it. I think she might have given me an explanation as to why, but it was only after I came to talk to her about it and apologize.
It's like the weirdest relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so common.
So very common. Like, and I've heard so many other horror stories of brothers. Like, say if you're on a date, this is another video I'm going to do, because the misuse of Matthew 18. Because Matthew 18 says, hey, if somebody sins against you, talk to them yourself. They don't listen, go grab somebody else. They don't listen, go bring it before the church. They don't listen, then have nothing to do with them. If it's between me and a brother, that pretty much happens. If it's between me and you, we skip to a perverted remix of the second part, meaning we're on a date, right?
Yeah.
And let's see. So we're on a date, and I do something to ever so slightly make you feel uncomfortable, right? Now, we're not talking about, now let me be clear to y'all, we're not talking about anything that's actually abusive, actual harassment, not groping, not, say if this actually happened. So I'm on a date with a younger, I'm in singles, and I take out one of the newer campus sisters, right? And we're all at a big old house date, right? So it's a big group conversation. And for a moment, the conversation turns to actual dating. I'm talking with her for maybe 5 minutes about actual dating, not she and I dating, but just the concept of dating, right?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is, apparently her discipler or somebody who was close to her asked her how her date with me went. And she happens to mention our conversation about dating. And I'm speculating here, but this is the only thing that makes sense to me. It shouldn't make sense, but this is the only thing that makes sense to me. What must have happened was that the sister she told took that to mean that, I spent the whole date talking about dating, because that's what.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the singles ministry leader comes to talk to me about, hey, why did you spend so much time talking about dating with this baby Christian? The fuck?
just laughing because that's most likely what happened.
Right.
Because I've seen those conversations go from, we had this one topic of conversation, lasted maybe a few minutes, to, well, that's inappropriate. They shouldn't have talked to you about this thing. So that's the one thing we're going to focus on. We're going to blow it out of proportion.
Right.
And now we're zoning in on that. And now we're going to make everybody feel weird and uncomfortable. Because then it's like, did I do something wrong?
Right. Like, and I'm very fortunate that only he came to talk to me about that. And the good thing about it is, now mind you, this is the same guy who, if y'all go back and watch my ICOC exit video, this is the same guy who told me, when it comes to dating my now wife, you can do what you want, but you can't do it here. Yeah. So I talked to him a few weeks later, telling him how I feel about how Matthew 18 is being used so wrong in the church, and how it coddles us and it causes a lack of maturity because nobody knows how to have difficult conversations with people. And he actually addressed it in the sermon. I was like,
oh, no.
First of all, that it was addressed at all. Second of all, that you addressed it. I wasn't expecting you to actually, address that. Like I did it because I felt like I needed to say something. He was actually the last person I expected to actually make a move on it. So I was like, okay, cool. But again, I'm very fortunate that only one person came to talk to me about it. I've heard so many horror stories where that same thing happens. You make a sister ever so slightly uncomfortable on a date. Next thing you know, next day at service, you got a gang of brothers sit you in a corner. Or the Bible. I don't know why this is a universal sign for preaching or rebuking someone, but apparently it is.
It is, yeah, because I kind of do too. I'm like,
where did that come from?
I know now, like every single ICOC member and church member is now going to like recollect, like, why do I do that?
Yes.
Because we do.
Yeah.
But we all know what it means. Like that's the funniest part. We see this and you're like, oh no. Like we know.
Brothers get, I've heard so many horror stories of brothers getting jumped the next morning, or like on a midweek or a Sunday service by anywhere between 3 and 5 or 6 different brothers, again, who were not on the date or are not in that relationship, but they were rebuking you and you don't hear jack from the sister.
Not even in your own ministry.
And now things are weird between you and the sister because y'all ain't supposed to talk about whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about some ICOC specific, because ICOC got its own brand of purity culture. One thing I will say is to give them some credit. Again, women, y'all got the shorter end of the stick all day. I will not. I have no argument against that. I will say that as men, at least to some degree, we were held to a high standard, a higher standard than most men in other churches. Yeah. Even though y'all were held to a higher standard, we definitely were held to a higher standard than what I was used to seeing outside the church. And I think that was one thing that did gain respect from me about them, was that men were not expected to, even if we were in a church, we were not expected to have any kind of, spiritual morals or whatever. Y'all got told, save yourselves. We weren't. Now, my mom told me that. My mom told me to save myself. My dad said, just don't get nobody pregnant. But I will break your dick off if you get somebody pregnant. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with these conflicting messages?
I like your dad though.
Right.
I think there's consequences. You can do it, but
right. So one thing that like rubbed me the wrong way was, and this is, both my wife and I saved ourselves. Now I made decisions to save myself once I got baptized in ICOC, but prior to that, I just wasn't trying. I wasn't convinced I was going to save myself, but I also just wasn't going after it. I'm at church one day. This is after Bible study on a Wednesday night. We're in the parking lot kind of talking. It's me, one other girl, and this lady who's, I want to say she was early, mid-college age. I guess she was kind of like the equivalent of a teen worker or whatever. I guess she was like, I guess one of our mentors or whatever. So we're all talking, and one of the girls, the girl who's more close to my age, she says, I think we were talking about like relationships and blah, blah, blah. She says to me, Myron, the girls at church don't like you because you're pure.
castle.
So the girls at church don't like me because I have not had sex yet.
That's the most confusing thing.
This was not my thought then, but if now me would have had that thought, is this not the most backward shit ever? How the hell? So, and
you are too pure.
That made me. Now, when I say lose respect, I'm not saying lose respect in the sense that, like, I still see them as human beings. I still respect y'all as human beings, but as far as like admiration and respect, like that made, I was like, that made me take them down a notch. I'm like, how? That's the reason y'all don't like me. I thought this is what we were supposed to be doing, even though I had not committed to that yet.
Yeah.
So it was stuff like that once I got to the ICOC and realized, okay, yes, the brothers are like, you don't masturbate, you don't watch porn, you treat the sisters with respect, you don't have sex. I was like, okay, I'm on board, because I feel like this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So
on one hand, I was glad that we were held to that standard. I was not cool with some of the stuff you had to do to keep that standard. Like, you got the whole, now I don't think this is specific to brothers, but like this was different depending on what branch of the church you was in, depending on what neck of the woods you was in. Like, even when I was in Tallahassee, it was a different standard for the teens, not the teens, a different standard for the campus than the singles. Singles did not have these rules I'm about to mention. You did not ride in the car with a sister by yourself. You didn't call a sister unless you were specifically calling her about, like, say, a female visitor that you brought out. Or to ask her on a date, and that was it. You did not have just a regular, hey, how you doing conversation with sisters. God forbid you trust people to actually, act like human beings and have male-female interaction.
Right.
There was I think this was specific to one sister. This one sister had a rule that she did not sit in between males in the backseat of a car, which negatively affected me, because there was a couple of times I ended up in the same car with her, and me and my long-legged self got to sit in the middle because you refused to sit between two guys.
That's what I'm thinking. It just is logical for her. Like, girl, you're probably gonna be smaller in every single way. Like, let's just make it comfortable.
This happened on a long road trip too. Like, we were driving from Tallahassee to Jacksonville. Why? Two guys taller than you are tiny. She's like 5'2", 5'1", but you sit on the window seat because you just refuse. Now, I get it. If that's your conviction, cool. But here's the thing. She would not tell me why. Like, I get it. If that's your conviction, cool. But if I'm gonna be uncomfortable in this car, I'm gonna need to know why. But she refused.
Yeah.
And then she tried to pass it on to there's a sister that I was close with, who she discipled, and she tried to tell her one day, no, you don't sit in between. I'm like, no, that's your conviction, ma'am. Don't make somebody else have your conviction.
Exactly. Like, no.
So we got all these crazy rules, and it's making me rethink a few of them, because there are a few of these rules that I held on to because I was trying to save myself. Like, I wouldn't have, like, if I wanted to hang out with a sister, I guess this would count as, I hate this term, weasel dates or whatever. God forbid you want to spend time with someone from the opposite sex outside of the date and outside of fellowship, and even in the fellowship, if you sitting with that sister for 2 minutes too long, or we get that weasel time in, this is something innocent that should not even have a negative connotation to it. But don't you dare spend too much time with that sister. Anyway, like, if I were to do that at my apartment, I would make sure that one of my roommates was home. I wouldn't be in my bedroom with the sister. I wouldn't, stuff. So now I'm rethinking, because this is stuff that I would tell somebody to do if they wanted to save themselves. Like, don't put, guys in the world, let me make sure those quotations are there. Guys in the world would say, well, how do you do it? What if it just falls in your lap? I'm like, why are you in a position to make it fall in your lap?
Hey, right.
Like, right.
I would not make fall in your lap.
Right. It's like, when, if somebody in a couple sheets on another person, like, you didn't accidentally cheat. There were several choices that you made prior to that. So cheating,
exactly.
that might have been a mistake. Yes, there were several mistakes made before that, right? So on one hand, I feel like these are practical things if that's your goal. On the other hand, I also have to I question the validity of them now because of the whole overbearing purity culture that came with the ICOC. So part of me is like, would I tell somebody this now? I don't know. I might say it by default because that's all I know now, but it has me questioning it now.
Well, you question it more once you become a parent, because then you start going, is this my actual belief and my conviction, or is this the spiritual malarkey I was fed for years and years and years and years and years? And then you really do have to break it down and go, if this is something that I believe, okay, cool, but how is this going to affect my child if I choose to raise them in this way? Like, are they then going to deal with the same trauma that I'm dealing with because I'm enforcing this or saying this or doing this? But instead of it coming from a church, it's coming from me. So like, there's so much more depth to it, I think, than people really realize, because it does then trail into your relationships, the next generation. Like it's kind of like we said before, it's like this cycle. Yeah. That you have to figure out how far is it going to go, and do you want to break it?
Right. It's funny you say that, as a parent, because Phoenix she has two long-legged parents. Naya is only an inch shorter than me. So things that would not be too short on other girls her age are short on her. Like she has dresses that would be fine on other girls, but we got to put shorts on for her because they would not even think.
My child is 9 and she's 4'11". I get it. And she's like me, she got legs for days.
Wow.
So I am right there with you. And then we're living in a day now where, crop tops are everything.
Yeah. She's about this high on me right now. She's not 6 yet. She'll be 6 in December. Ooh. So she is tall.
She got her mommy and daddy's genes.
Yeah. Long legs for days. So it's like, and for me, like the wardrobe for me, it doesn't bother me so much. Like I'm conscious of it. That somebody somewhere might say, oh, those shorts are too short for her. Like, no, she's a little girl. You got something to say about that? Are you telling on yourself right now? Where I catch myself is, I don't think this is ICOC specific. I think this is more so patriarchy and purity culture centric. Like, little kids are not going to sit on a couch like this all the time. They're going to be laying down. They got the legs up, and you always teach little girls, keep your legs closed. Don't be laying with your booty up on the couch and all that kind of stuff. Instinctively, I'm like, don't sit like that. Don't sit like that. Don't sit like that. And I'm not saying it's bad to tell them don't sit like that, but I stop and think, am I projecting patriarchy? Am I projecting toxic masculinity? Am I projecting purity culture onto her by telling her, oh, you can't sit like that? Yeah. Now, I may not ultimately be wrong in telling her to not sit like that, but it's a thought I have. All right. So what, I know we were talking about ICOC specific purity culture things. What's something else you noticed that, like, oh, that's right, we meant to come back to the side hug thing, right?
Side hug.
My God.
My Lord. I mean, and it's just, I think it is like the part of the way that you interact with the opposite gender.
Right.
And it's what I mentioned before in previous video, is some of it's also very cultural. Yeah. Either from where you grew up, the ethnicity that you are in, you grew up in. And so if you're like me and I might touch your arm while I'm talking to you. I do it to males. I do it to females. I do it to kids. I'm going to look you in the eye. You might do a hug thing. You might do a cheek kiss, like whatever it is. But it's not a sexual thing.
Exactly.
And to make these actions, or to try to make them seem like they are inherently sexual, I mean, then when you're kind of blurring the lines, but then again, you're also removing a lot of accountability from typically the guy's mindset, because we were saying, oh, this is an inherently sexual thing. So for you to think that, well, obviously you're going to, she shouldn't have done X, Y, Z. And so, I mean, something as simple as like, okay, a hug versus a side hug. Like if you're like, and I remember being told all the years of teen camp and teen ministry, oh, well, you can't do that because then the guy is going to like feel your breasts against his chest. And that's why. And then he's going to get like turned on, you know, from that thing. And my first thought was like, there's some guys who have breasts larger than mine, first of all, right now. So if we're talking about breasts, then I don't think mine are the ones you should be worrying about. And mind you, this is at the time. And so, you know, I mean, tell a 13, 14-year-old girl that, like, you're already still developing, you're still coming into your own body. But then
you don't need that weight on you. Like, for real.
Yeah, you know, but like that's wrong. I mean, I remember when I was 14. I have so many stories, it's depressing. But like for this particular one, it's after church. You know, I had just finished saying goodbye to a brother, and I just, you know, I went for a side hug. He gave me a front hug, and I was like, whatever, you know, it's a guy I had known for, you know, we were in the teens together, pre-teens together, whatever. Yeah. You know, we had already known each other for like a year or two. Super nothing there, but it didn't matter because I went in for, he gave me a front hug, and I was still kind of, you know, I was a wee little lass. I was developing. It was happening. Puberty. Last year's. But I was told, I think I had like 2 team leaders talk to me, and I was basically, it was my first time really being rebuked ever.
Wow.
And
over a hug.
This one, and it happened to be over a hug, and I was told that, now this guy was studying the Bible. It's one who didn't get baptized, was like a junior in high school, junior, senior, something like that. But, you know, he was studying the Bible, and the hug I gave him was inappropriate. It would end up causing him to struggle. And I'm like, well, what did I do? You know, these are words I've never heard before.
Right.
And I was told that because I gave him a front hug.
That he went for.
And that he went for. And it wasn't like, you know, usually like you try to be ridiculous, you do the front hug and you do like the weird triangle hug where you're like, and you just like do like the shoulder.
Keeping all this away.
Just like this. Yeah. So you're like, you know, you're just triangling.
Let's do the hug.
I know, we were doing
like,
it.
Right.
Wait, hold on. I'm not. Okay, there we go. So there we go. So I can do this. It was a bit closer to like this. It wasn't per shade up, but it was still like, it was a good angle, but not enough. It was not enough of that like 90 degree, you know. And so I was being told like, well, because of your body and because of the chestal situation, he was now going to be thinking about that hug and lingering on in his brain. But then also those who around us who saw it were going to be
Let there not be a hint.
Ideas.
Let there not be a hint.
Let there not be a hint. Yes, exactly. And that was my first ever, you know, I'm like a fresh little baby disciple, just maybe a few months old. And it's my first time ever hearing this and getting this rebuke, but it was still the like, oh, but your hug, you know? Yeah. And so, I mean, I didn't want to hug anybody for ages after that. Yeah. You know, but then of course, then you get rebuked for not hugging anyone because you're not being a welcoming sister.
Right.
What can I do?
You just can't win. You know, I'm pretty sure that didn't come from that brother. I'm pretty sure that came from everybody else around.
He laughed. He didn't even know about it until I told him. Because I asked him, I'm again, rebel child. I asked him like the next time I saw him, I was like, did I make you uncomfortable with that hug? He's like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Right, exactly.
Like, I got talked to and this happened. And he was like, he had no clue that even happens. Like he never heard about it. You know, he like left and like literally as he's leaving, I'm like, phew.
Yo, like that, how you gonna take a hug and make that shit perverted? Like I come from a hugging family. We hug when we see each other, we hug on the way out, and we might hug more in the middle. And it was always full frontal, I ain't gave not an iota of thought to any kind of arousal. Cause like I got plenty of aunties who are not skinny, which usually means that this is not small either. Aunties, cousins, every hug that I gave and got prior to the ICOC never registered in my mind about any kind of struggling at all.
Yeah.
So that's my hugging style. And even if I give you a side hug, I'm giving you a firm side hug. Yep. So I get the ICOC and they're teaching me about this side hug stuff. I'm like, what is this? Because I hate weak hugs. I would rather you shake my hand than give me don't pat me on the back. My wingspan is 6 feet 6 inches. I can pat myself on the back if I so choose.
See, but we were also taught too, if you had enough time to pat on the back, you were hugging too long.
I ain't heard that one, but that's some bullshit.
Because if you go like this, you're going for the hug and then you start the pattern. So as you're like, 1, 2, and you're like, oh wait, you switch your line.
Yeah.
You're about to pat. You're about to do some extra touching.
Mm-hmm. See, this is what I did because I rebelled hard against the side hug, and fortunately, I never. This is one of the things I got away with. I would basically, if I approach you for a hug, I just approach you like this, and I don't move my arms until I see how you react. I let you decide how you're going to hug me. If you come put your chest on the mine, okay, cool. We down. We here with that. If you turn your shoulder to me, I know, oh, okay, you're a side hugger. You drink the side hug Kool-Aid, so I'm going to turn my shoulder to you too. But you still gonna get this hug. You're gonna get this, because I don't give weak hugs either. I don't accept them, but I don't give them.
I love getting hugs from you.
No,
I felt like I could do no wrong. It was so great. I was like, yes.
It's funny. I don't think this really has to do with hugs, but I remember because I think I was living with J.I. at the time. I think you were over for some reason. And I remember just to kind of show off how long my arms were, I put my arms around you and I was like, I could fit 3 of you in here.
Yes, you did. Because I was like, I joked that my cousin Alex used to do that. And then you like tighten the hug and you're like, I can touch myself.
Right. I can hug myself and you at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, so that.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't sure with J.I. and Trevor then.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was some good times. That's some good times.
Oh, I got rebuked, by the way, during that time frame as well. Because remember the snowstorm?
I was just about to ask you about that. I've been thinking about that because I was like, it made all the sense in the world.
I got snowed in with you guys. I don't think you were there though.
No, I think J.I. had moved upstairs.
That's right. Y'all split.
Right, and this was Snowmageddon 2010 or 2011.
Like,
so yeah,
the original, not the one we had a couple years ago.
Right, yeah. Right. So yeah, and I was like, that makes I remember thinking this makes all the sense in the world for you to spend the night because you can't go home. Because it was
J.I. and Trevor were living together, and then you were downstairs. I think with like Kirk or someone like that. Or
yeah.
It was just a whole lot of y'all.
Yeah. So
yeah,
and I was like,
I got rebuked hard because there was an apartment of sisters that lived in the same apartment complex as you guys. Mm-hmm. And like 2 days or a day later, a day or two later, I was there for like 3 days. Clarify, this is how good I was about my purity doll. I did not shower one day that I was there.
Wow. Because, when you're already at a brother's,
not showering because I was like, I'm not trying to make anybody struggle.
Right. You're already at a brother's house overnight.
But y'all were pure. I know. It was bad. It was gross. Oh my.
I would not have expected you to do that, but I'm just like, but I could.
Oh, I didn't want anyone to try to say I did anything.
Yeah.
And it happened anyway. So, they found a house full of sisters and they were like, oh, you should just stay there. I refused. And for me though, it's because I actually have social anxiety and Trevor and J.I. knew, so they didn't invite me about it. And so the idea of staying, like living with, in any capacity, a group, especially of females I do not know, man, that will send me into an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
100%. So I was like, nah. They're like, I'm good. They're like, you just have to walk across. I was like, nah, I'm good. I will stay on this little seat.
Yeah.
Right here. And I will make sure there's a bubble. All right. Yes. Like only time I moved from that spot, literally, like they would bring me food because I was afraid to move. Like, because I have to go to the bathroom. Outside of that, like I did nothing. And
none of that mattered. You still got rebuked for it.
And I still got rebuked. Yeah.
Because I always wondered if that happened. Because I was like, this is the smart move. She needs to stay here overnight. Also, what are they going to say? What are they going to say when this is all over? And sure enough,
I even offered, honestly, to try to, because I had a truck at the time, I offered to try to leave.
I remember.
But remember y'all apartment, it was on a slope. And at that point, because it was Sunday night movie night. Every Sunday night was movie night. So I came over for movie night. And so I even suggested and offered to do that so I didn't have to spend the night. But at that point, I had already started icing. Yeah.
I remember, I think the next day after it all settled, but it was still like, you wasn't going
nowhere.
It
was ice for like 2 days, man.
I remember walking to me and one of my other roommates. I forget the guy's name now. We walked to Dunkin' Donuts So to paint a picture for y'all at home, to get out, we had to go down one hill, then back up another hill to get to the main road. And it was a
steep hill.
Yes, this is not a road you're trying to drive on when it's snowing.
And that's not including the little speed bumps that paved the way up there as well.
Yeah. Oh, they had the nerve one time to put some freshly laid speed bumps and not paint them. And if you drive how I drive,
boom, boom.
Right.
You're gonna fly.
Messing up your transmission, messing up your suspension. But yeah, so as we were walking,
break an axle on that one.
Right. As we were walking to Dunkin' Donuts, we see the graveyard of cars that didn't make it, that tried to make it and failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember y'all bringing up the Dunkin' Donuts and telling me about it. Y'all aren't you glad you stayed? Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So rewinding back a little bit to, you mentioned like sometimes, hugs and also pecks on the cheek or whatever. One thing that really irked me was, once I started dancing salsa, one thing that took me by surprise, but what's a good thing, I enjoyed it. You're talking to a man who had never kissed a girl before. And not that we were kissing on the lips, but as a person whose primary love language is physical touch, this was a bright spot for me. So what I was not accustomed to was in the Latin culture, kisses on the cheek. So what started to happen is when I would get done with the dance with a woman, all of a sudden this girl kisses me on the cheek. I'm like,
yep.
No, I'm not aroused. I'm like, I don't get a hard on from this. I'm not thinking about her sexually afterwards, but it felt good. It was just I guess the dope, is it dopamine or whatever that chemical is?
Yep, it's dopamine.
I was like,
it was flowing.
Okay, this is nice. So the custom was you dance, song is over, hug, kiss on the cheek, go on to the next person. And I'm on board with this. And there's even a scripture that says, greet each other with a holy kiss.
Yep.
But don't dare try to kiss a sister on the cheek in the fellowship.
Don't even hug him.
I knew not to do this, but it irked me so bad. And you even had people try to explain away the whole that the holy kiss thing wasn't literal. What in that scripture? Yeah. What in that scripture makes you think it's not?
Right.
What in this scripture makes you think is figurative? So it just kind of
was this translated wrong, but everything else was right? Like, help me understand.
Right. So it bugged the mess out of me that I can kiss on the cheek these women that I barely know. Yeah. But my sisters who I actually know and love and spend time with, I can't kiss them.
Yeah.
I might have done it a few times, but only with sisters who I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that it was not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just always baffled me. Speaking of rebukes and purity, I almost wore a tank top for this section of the video because... Oh,
I'm going to be... I'm actually very comfortable right now in my clothes, which is very, abnormal, but I've started wearing crop tops.
I noticed. Yeah.
That I am.
Yeah, you can't.
And I got some stories even about that thing. Not even just crop tops, but like clothes.
Okay, I'm gonna pause and tell a story about that. So my friend Daniela, shout out to Daniela if you're watching this. One of my besties from back then. She was my best friend / dance mentor, because a lot of the stuff, a lot of techniques I teach my students, a lot of stuff I got from her. So I had her teach a class with me at some singles thing that we did one time. And she had on a shirt that showed just an inch or two of midriff. They made this girl put a long sleeve shirt on that covered her stomach. Mm-hmm. I think I still got a picture of it to this day. And I'm just like somebody took a picture of us in the crowd because we were about to do a demonstration. I'm just like, really? Y'all really made this big, huge ass fuss about her showing this much stomach? This much?
Oh, I have so many stories like that I could share.
It's horrible. So
many. Like tank tops. I dared not even try a spaghetti strap. Even like a thick tank top, I was never allowed to wear ever. Yeah. I remember one time I wore a sari, a typical traditional Indian outfit to church, and I wrapped it to try to cover my midriff. But while I was sitting, it gets a little bit loose, right?
Right.
And just a little part of my midriff was shown during church in the back where like the seat should have covered, but didn't. If I moved forward, I got rebuked for that one. I mean, if I wore anything fitted, for example, I got rebuked. So I was in like those carpenter jeans all throughout high school. Even if I wore like a fitted shirt, I normally had like a vest over it or something. Like I hated my clothes all throughout high school. It was the worst. I spent like my 8th grade year, whenever I was in any church activity, in like one of those, like, you remember like in the 90s, those huge basketball shorts and like the oversized t-shirts. I lived in those because everything was wrong.
God forbid you wear clothes that fit, right?
Right. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I was not allowed. I mean, as girls, if we wore swimsuits, we had to wear a t-shirt and shorts over top of it every single time. And that was if we were at a pool. So like, and even then, like at camp or if we did beach trips, it was just girls. And then the guys would go a different day. At camp, girls would have one swim time and then guys would have a separate swim time. But you still had to wear t-shirt and shorts.
That was my swamp story. Cause I remember we did a campus retreat. Thank you. We did a campus retreat at the swamp. For those of y'all that don't know, we both were in Atlanta. There's a campground that the church had way down 20 East somewhere, like right before, a little bit before you get to Augusta. I remember there was a big river we used to cross right before we got there. And so the campground was called the Swamp. So we'd have retreats there sometimes too. And there was a pool there. And just like you said, there were designated times for the brothers and sisters. The sisters went at this one time and the brothers went at this other time. And you still had to wear t-shirts in the pool. This is why the whole time I was there, even when I was still Kool-Aid drinking, even when I was full-fledged member, was not thinking about leaving, I refused to go to the pool or go to the beach with disciples. I am not going to the beach or to the pool with just men. And I'm not getting in the pool with a shirt on. I was just like, I'm just not going to do it. If that's what I have to do, I'm not doing it. That is weird as hell. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, not sorry. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry. I'm not doing that. Like, y'all can have that. That just struck me as weird. We're not, no.
Yeah, no, I hate it. Well, and and this is why I said earlier, like, it also depended on your body's type and style and things like that, because I am a petite but very curvy person.
Skinny thick, would that work?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so there were, I was constantly, I remember one time even being told, because I just wore like just a t-shirt and jeans, right? Like totally
Which
fine.
should be normal.
It wasn't even that fitted, but just I have always been a fairly well-endowed person. And even in high school. And one time, this has happened multiple times, but this was the first time I was ever actually told this. I had been told multiple times after that fact, unfortunately, this particular thing. But I was told I personally could not wear it, that because of my body, I was making brothers struggle due to what I was wearing. And I was like, wait, what? And, and I'm a teenager, I'm insecure. Like, you're not sure. And it was the first time. So I really want to clarify that, as in it happened multiple times after this.
Many times.
Many years. But because I was like, but I was wearing something very similar to my cousin. And they're like, well, it's fine for her to wear it because she doesn't look like you, but you cannot wear this outfit. And I'm like,
these moving, flaming goalposts.
And after that, I started wearing after that, I'm like, all right, let me wear like the ridiculous vests over things and like hoodies and, all the things over top of it to try to add more layers. But like, that was I'm sure still is a very, very common thing of, this other person might be able to because they have a different body type than you, but you cannot wear this because you personally, because of the body God gave you, you personally are now going to make all these brothers struggle.
So God may be sinful. That's the message that comes out.
God made me a walking struggle muffin for all
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Because that was a phrase.
Yes.
It's a struggle muffin
For those of you who were not in the ICOC and or just never heard that phrase, let's see, a struggle muffin is basically like if that brother or sister in church, or they might be a visitor. I think this could be two ways. One, someone just visually attractive, or that visitor who came and they don't quite know the etiquette yet. So they might be well endowed here or wherever else, you know.
Might be a guy that's got like, you know, the arms and like the and you're like, what's up?
Right. Or it could be personality, because you might have that brother or sister who really is not just accused of being flirtatious, like my friend Trisha here. You might have somebody who genuinely is like they legit flirt, and that's a struggle muffin like that too. Because like you got brothers being like, ooh, okay. Like for me being a usually shy person, I had no game when I was in the world. I very much appreciated those girls who were a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more aggressive, because I'm like, even if they didn't like me, I'm like, I felt good about myself hanging with them. And even if they did like me, that took the guesswork out for me. I didn't have to, and they broke the ice for me. That was always my problem. We could hold a good conversation, but I had a hard time approaching people. I had a hard time breaking the ice. So I liked the struggle muffins, I guess, because I was like, okay, I'm getting a little bit of attention here.
And it's just they you know, I mean, the ones who kind of knew that they were like that, at least. I mean, they were a nice icebreaker.
Exactly.
You're like, I just thank you.
Right.
Easy conversations.
Tank top thing. The reason why I almost wore a tank top here is because I got rebuked for wearing tank tops in the summertime.
Oh, was it like the low cut?
No, just regular from Walmart. They call them A shirts if you buy them from like Walmart or Target or whatever. Or I don't use this term anymore, but they were.
They're called wife beaters.
Yes, those.
I got you. I'll say it for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Funny, one of my salsa buddies, she used to wear a tank top that said boy beater. She took a marker and wrote boy beater on it. And I was like, I love you for that. But because it's hot. It's in Atlanta. It's in the summertime and it's hot. So I'm at movie nights or game nights with folks, and I'm wearing a tank top. Now, mind you, I'm not super muscular, but I am more defined than I used to be. So this is about 50 pounds ago. So whatever, I mean, I don't consider this a lot. There was less of this back then. I say this to say, ain't nobody struggling with me. Ain't nobody struggling with none of this.
In the nicest way possible, y'all. He was a toothpick.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, I was. I was. So I got more here, but I also got more here now too. So I'm
the dad bod.
Dad bod. And it's a father figure. Okay. It's a father. And that is a dad joke. That is a dad joke.
I'm using that for now on.
There we go.
Father figure in every way.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, I'm getting rebukes. I'm getting discipled over wearing a tank top in the damn summertime.
Yep.
And I'm a $150, $160 wet. And I'm like, I guess the whole different body type thing didn't apply to me, because
I'm kind of jealous, because I'm from Philly. That's where, you know, I grew up church wise. Guys never got rebuked up there for that. And they would wear the ones I was talking about, like the basketball, like cut down, where you could see like all of this if they just turned to the side, because they were always, you know, oversized.
And you see them pecs,
they never got rebuked.
Ooh, hey.
I know, right? If anything, like the leaders, like the team leaders or, you know, disciplers or whatever, were like, oh, you got an extra one. And you're just like, wait, what? Like, I have to be out here in 5 layers, like a daggone parka in 100-degree weather. And this dude is like, got any spares? So actually, it makes my heart feel better knowing you got rebuked.
Hey,
I'm a little petty. And it makes me feel better.
I'm glad. You know, I'm making up for all the ones who never got to rebuke where you were at. So I'll take that one for you. I wasn't happy about it at the time, but I'll take that.
No, not at all.
So flipping that a little bit, what always puzzled me. So you can't wear spaghetti strap into anywhere. You can't have your shoulders out anywhere.
No.
However, if we go to
the shirt I'm wearing right now, you couldn't wear either.
Right.
So like a V-neck And I hated it. Like I mentioned in our previous thing, like I was abused growing up. So I don't like things close to my neck.
Yeah.
At all. So I actually hated wearing t-shirts. Like it caused me anxiety. I don't like things close to my neck. So I was always more comfortable in shirts like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared that with the team leaders and with disciplers and things like that because of my abuse growing up. I don't like things close to my neck.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous and constantly anxious. I like things lower. Can't do it.
Thank you about that.
No.
No.
We get that due to your abuse, you have trauma. However,
these brothers over here
struggle. And so we need you to keep something close to your neck at all times.
So their purity is supposed to be
was more important than my mental health. Yeah.
What's supposed to be their responsibility was more important than your trauma.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
no off the shoulders, nothing like this. Like we couldn't do it.
Right.
Can never do it.
So tell me why that was forbidden. Yet as soon as we go to a wedding, you got bridesmaids with the all of this is out, right? The shoulders is out, the collarbone is out. It starts right before the cleavage starts, right? Now, I don't struggle with any of that.
Yeah.
And I'm an equal opportunity struggler, like nice everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I probably didn't struggle with, I was not one of those foot fetish brothers. That never understood.
Actually, you reminded me of a story. I'm a tangent real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So in Philadelphia, I don't know if they still have the rule. They created a rule for the females on stage that you could not be in an open toe shoe singing on stage because a brother shared that looking at the sister's feet during service made him struggle and not able to focus on the Lord. So I'm glad you said that. I was like, I have a story. So we did, and I was in a song ministry at the time too. So mind you, as female, so you had to wear like long skirts, right? Like it had to be knee length, like below your knee or longer. You couldn't have any slits. You had to have long shirts. You couldn't have them too tight. You had to have like sleeves or long sleeves. You couldn't have anything off the shoulder. You hadn't have anything like this. You had to have it above it. And then to top all of that off, you couldn't have open toe shoes. You couldn't do sandals. You couldn't do a flip flop, nothing. You had to have closed toe shoes. That's that one.
This breaks my heart.
They're like, man, who else might be struggling with it?
Because I'm like, because again,
having like a hand fetish and have to wear gloves. Like
this just brings us back to the point that men, it's on us. Because even if like, because to some degree, I'm still feeling like, even outside of this, as a woman, like why would you wear your club dress to church? Like,
yeah,
like to some degree, I feel like that's a little ridiculous, right? But still, even outside of that, at the end of the day, it's our responsibility. Okay.
Yes.
This further proves that point because we can't have y'all out here just, especially in the summertime, like y'all can't have y'all wearing like. You get what I'm saying? I'm losing my thoughts here, but like that's goddamn ridiculous.
I got you. It's a thing.
I always wondered if it was. I knew that there was brothers who struggled with that, but I was like, well, surely they draw the line somewhere. Surely there's no rule against.
For a time, I don't know if it still exists because I'm not in Philly anymore, but for quite a while in the Philadelphia church, it was a rule.
I am not okay. I'm not okay right now. I'm not. But yeah, so the whole wedding
here to
thing.
Create more trauma, apparently, by sharing my trauma.
Why is it okay? And again, I don't see a problem with this at all, whether it's at a wedding or not. Why is it okay for the sisters to wear dresses that show the shoulders, show the collarbone, all of that in a wedding, but y'all can't do it nowhere else? Do I have a switch that I can turn off if that is my struggle? Do I have a switch that I can turn off when I walk into a wedding? Because if so, where's that switch at other times? I would love to be able to turn this switch off any other time.
Yeah, you preaching to the choir. I have always wondered that as well. But then it might have just been like person dependent or church dependent. I don't know. Because I remember, being in Philly, like, man, we would get rebuked. Like we would be at a wedding. And if we saw that, like my aunt, other, older disciples would be on it, being like, well, that's just not appropriate to wear. When you get married, because there's always when, by the way, as females, we don't get to say we're getting married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, even in church. So when you get married, you better not do the things. I mean, it got so bad. And even outside of that, at one point, again in Philly, there was literally, I'm going to make you die again. I'm going to warn you now, you're about to die. There was an older sister, an older disciple who would literally be like, a welcomer, you would think, but she was there to check every sister's outfit. And if she thought that you were not appropriately dressed for church, she would not let you in, and you would either have to put on something or go home and change and come back. You were stopped at the Lord's Temple, which was usually a high school. Because we were right in buildings, and you couldn't do it. Like, it has been really strict for the female folks. So again, I mean, I was raised in a lot more conservative in that concept. And it kind of even was brought down here when I came to the church down here my second time around. Because I remember the guy I dated that I ended up, the second one. Mm-hmm. When it got to make things clear whether or not there was a mutual interest there. So I fasted for makeup and heels. Two things I love, y'all. I love me my makeup. I love me my heels. Also, I'm 5'5", and I come from a taller family, so I used it to, give me more height. And so after we started dating, when my fast was over, like I had my fast like till like this specific day. This day would be over. Like the same day he asked me to be his girlfriend. Awesome. So put on the next day. It was church on Sunday.
So he found
I
you
wore
beautiful,
my heels,
even though you didn't have your heels and your makeup.
It was so sweet. Yeah, but then he got to see the real me, which was, heels and makeup. And literally deadpan told me he did not appreciate that I was wearing heels and makeup because he did not want people to think that he started dating me because of my looks. And that he was concerned now that people saw me this way, that they would think that he would begin struggling based off of my appearance. Deadpan told me that.
Sorry.
Which is more of a reason I love my husband now, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm like,
there you go.
I'm always in like 5-inch heels and, falsies. And he's like, this is great. I'm like, I love you.
Are you taller than him with heels?
Oh, heck yeah. Completely taller than him. I mean, he's pretty I'm 5'5", he's like 5'8", so it's not that bad, but literally all of my heels are like 4 or 5 inches. So
yeah, man's
got confidence. I'm like, I love you. And when I'm wearing heels, he's great.
When Naya has on she has her hair like in a fro bun up, and she has on the right heels. I
love pictures of y'all next to each other.
I remember one day we were walking, right. Like she had a similar outfit on, and I was like, you're taller than me right now, right? She was like, that turns you on, don't it? I was like, okay, yeah. I'm like, I'll be walking with her. He's a great man. Be walking with her. I'm like, yeah, all this is mine. All this is me.
We love y'all.
Mm-hmm.
You'll love you guys.
Tall women rock. Hashtag tall girls rock.
No, but that's like I think the mindset that is the thing of, as females, we have to look a certain way, and we can't look this way. We can't look that way.
Yeah. Because
we'll make guys struggle.
Mm-hmm. Your whole
and I'm sorry, but if my falsies are making you struggle,
you're what?
I am genuinely concerned about you.
You said falsies or fallacies?
Falsies. If I fake eyelashes, because let's be real, these are not mine. Okay. They are not this long. If these are going to cause you to sin.
What is this thing with eyelashes? Because I've been told at least 2 or 3 times, which is more times than I would like to be told, that either I had nice eyelashes or that there was always a woman, or that they were jealous of my eyelashes.
We were born with like real short ones, and guys get all the really good ones, and it just it opens up your eyes more. It kind of makes your face look a lot better.
Care.
I know y'all don't, but we do. So.
I'm like, for all y'all women who keep making these posts on Facebook about how we don't deserve these eyelashes, we don't want them. Okay.
Don't deserve them. I'm like, just share them.
We don't want them. Okay. Don't be mad at us. Swap. I will take them out for you if I could. Here, take them.
You know, it makes me think of a Fresh Prince tangenting so bad. A Fresh Prince episode where he's locked in the basement with his girlfriend.
It was
Tisha Campbell. Tisha
Campbell was her, right?
Yes.
And he's just like, all right. So let me wrap it back around to something not ICOC specific. Mm-hmm. So because we got to talking about weddings and everything. One thing that I think church in general, ICOC or otherwise, does a horrible job of is preparing people for their wedding night. Because, there's the whole thing of, you got to save yourself. You got to save yourself. You got to save yourself. Right. But you're going in blind. Like, I don't regret saving myself. And now my job, both me and my wife saved ourselves. I was not looking for a virgin, and neither was she. She had already made up her mind she wasn't going to find one, and then she found me. And me, I didn't care. I was like, I'm exaggerating here, but I'm like, I don't care if you was a porn star, as long as by the time you met me, you had already made up your mind you were saving yourself until marriage. Because I was like, you got to be doing it for God. If you're doing it for me, if we both have a bad night, it's over. So I was like, as long as before me, you decided you was doing it for God, that's all I ask. I don't care what you did before me. I say that to say, again, we didn't plan it. It just so happened that two, as a friend of mine put it, unicorns got together. So of course, first night was awkward, but it wasn't like I guess it was a sweet and, touching awkward, not a, what we supposed to do. Like we do what we're supposed to do, but still, even with that, it's like the church does a horrible job of, okay, we expect you to save yourself, but as soon as you get there, you're supposed to knock each other's socks off. You're supposed to blow her mind. You're supposed to blow his mind with what experience?
Well, it's not just experience, but you're not allowed to talk about it.
Right.
You can't even get.
That's what I should have said.
Advice from a married couple of like,
right.
So they'll talk to you a little bit, because I did go through marriage counseling because I was once engaged in the church. And so you do talk about like, things to expect once you're married, but no one sits down and is like, this is what you are to physically expect once you're married. It's just like the most taboo thing. And then of course, then the awkward thing is, and then when y'all come back from your honeymoon, everyone looks at you like, we know what you love.
What y'all do?
Everyone's giving you the, hey,
right.
We see the, and and of course, like I know as sisters, we would joke about it to the one who just got married, because it's the closest we could get to talking about it.
Right.
Where we'd be like, we see the glow.
Yeah. It's like, you got to be able to talk about that. Right. You got to be able to talk about that. Well, it ain't enough to just talk about it in a few weeks leading up, because now it's about to happen. It's just like, can we get some kind of communication going before that? Like, you can't do it because the person's going to go home and masturbate. The person can't do it because they're going to go home and have pure thoughts. I'm like,
you'll be doing that anyway.
Exactly. We've been doing that. How many times you've had I mean, do you know the rebuking going on right now? Like, you're rebuking enough people to know that this is happening anyway. So let's just go ahead and let the cat out the bag. So yeah, I don't have all the answers, y'all, but it needs to be said that it's a problem. Like, the church, again, does a horrible job of preparing people, because y'all hype marriage up to be like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Y'all hype up, you just hype up marriage like it's the end all be all. But this important part of marriage is forbidden. It's off the table. You can't talk about it till right before it's supposed to happen. And it just needs to be said. Again, I don't have the answers for it. I don't know what the best solution for it is, but we're just here to start the conversation, because it needs to be had. But yeah. So Trisha, is there anything else you would want to get off your chest about
purity culture?
Yes. Let them have it.
I mean, I feel like the amount of stories I could share just in my own personal life is just truly terrifying and depressing. I mean, I really would say that it's just put responsibility where it needs to be gone.
Exactly.
Stop villainizing females and letting guys off the hook.
Right.
You know, I shared that in our last conversation, and to this day, it really, really bothers me.
Yeah.
You know, that I'm still seen in this horrible, horrible light, but these guys are still like, oh, but they're this person's kid, and they did this, and that, you know, and they're still like scot-free. It's like, can we please I'm not saying like make them out to be, you know, like R. Kelly, but put responsibility where it needs to go on.
Right. It's never one.
Sure.
Well, except for something like rape, it's never one-sided.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but even then, like, admit to yourselves what was able to get to that point.
Right.
Like, why was he so easily able to pressure me into these things and do these things, cause these issues? If it were not first those purity constructs that first existed of, well, I am okay because, see, it's not my responsibility. It's not my fault.
Exactly.
It's her job, you know, it's her, whatever. So that's definitely one thing I would say. Just, man, own up to your stuff. Just be real.
Exactly.
That's definitely it. I would say for sure too, like, also stop villainizing females for having a female body.
Yes.
It's like the weirdest, it's the weirdest thing. As again,
the same bodies that men like, the same bodies that men are attracted to.
The same bodies that men have painted for centuries.
Yeah.
By the way, we literally go to museums to look at them. Why are we saying you got to cover it up? I don't get it. But like, I just feel like that is just one of the worst things, because so many to this day of my body image issues and insecurities come from the church. It doesn't come from aunties always being like, hey, you're still skinny, and, you know, being like a, you know, 13-year-old at 90 pounds. Like, you would think that would be it, but it's not. You know, it's constantly being told, you know, while in the middle of a while after a teen Devo, where I got to share my own personal, you know, conversion story. Being told, so we noticed while you were sharing that your bra doesn't have padding, and so we were able to see your nipples, and that just distracted all of the guys here, and all of the people here.
That negates everything.
It completely negated my entire conversion story and everything that I shared, because there were parents there and the dad saw it too, and body shame right there. Hey, you can't wear that because of your body shame right there. Hey, I get that you're really uncomfortable and you have trauma, but you can't do that because body shame right there. And so just realizing all these roles that are created as to try to make it seem like, oh, look, we're protecting our guys. What you're really doing is causing a lot of mental damage and body issues for these females, by the way. And for any female under ICC is like, well, I never dealt with that. God bless you.
Right. Good for you.
You
must be nice
that they were not worried about. You know, somebody had to say it. You know, well, because like I was sharing this with with my one cousin. She's like, I never got talked to about that. I was like, we have different bodies. Like, I wish I had your body. You know, that would have made my life a lot easier. Which is funny because she's like, I wanted yours, and I'm like, okay, girl, no, you don't. I don't want my body. You know, and it literally took me having to have my child, who happens to be a girl. In every possible way, she believes she's a girl. She's physically a girl. She's all girls, right? But in being like, I don't want her to have my body issues. So I need to deal with my body issues. And then God gave me more grace by marrying this phenomenal man who is constantly reminding me and reprimanding me when I need to be reprimanded about like, where I'm like, God, I don't know if I should wear this. It's going to show like my midriff. There's going to be this. He's like, why is that a problem? I'm like, well, because... How is that a problem?
Right.
That's a good point. And it's like, but this is what I'm actually comfortable in for my body and my body type, and even culturally what I happen to be more comfortable in because of our traditional clothing. And so God gave me grace with marrying this really great guy who challenges me on, is this a you issue or is this a church issue?
Yeah.
And so, definitely realizing all these things that you're saying of, well, it's to keep purity and to maintain purity. Purity is not being maintained.
Yeah.
As a person who wore carpenter jeans, which, let's be real, those were really bad. It's like a step below Jenko's, but who wore those and baggy shirts and was still put in a relationship with the guy who pressured her into sex and raped her. It did not save me from that.
Right.
It did not prevent him from doing these things.
Nope.
So the idea of it maintaining purity is a complete fallacy.
Yeah.
It's a total farce. Like, it's not stopping anything. It's just prolonging the inevitable of trauma, body insecurity, all kinds of sexual issues that are still happening in the church. Let's just be real, that no one wants to talk about, because then there's the shame that comes along with it.
Yeah.
So the rules don't work.
They don't.
They don't.
They ain't work.
They're just hurting people and then hurting the next generation.
Exactly.
Because let me tell you how pissed off I was when I signed my daughter up for Swamp, because, her best friend was going. And I was like, it'll be fun for them to go together. And I saw, and she's 9, and it's like the kid version. And I got the dress code rules. And I'm like, you're telling me my 9-year-old has to deal with like the finger, and same thing, long legs. Shorts don't work the same way. Compared to long and thin and short and stubby, that work the same way. So she's got to worry about the fingertip rule, the shirt rule, the strap rule at the age of 9.
Yeah.
Like, how young are we teaching these kids, hey, guess what? I know God gave you this body, but it's wrong.
But it's bad. It's wrong. Isn't that cute? But it's wrong.
Right?
Please tell me no, that's wrong.
Just, I do, and I don't know why.
2 stupid dogs.
So like, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the big thing. It's just the rules are wrong. They're not working.
Yeah.
And everything that you think like, oh yeah, this is it. No. Because then you either have the people like me who are just like, finally, once they become parents or in their 30s, 40s, however long, finally start dealing with it and breaking it apart and realizing this is incorrect. Or you have the people who go the total opposite way and they become like super promiscuous as a way to rebel. Like, you're not making anybody happy here. It's just all kinds of bad. It's just bad. No, it's not good. Yeah, I would say those are really my 2 biggest things. Like, you're creating body issues and you need to start giving guys accountability, because I love y'all, but it's giving, in that sense, you guys the short end of the stick of saying, you cannot manage yourself. Like, because then it's the same thing. Like, God gave us this body, yay, but he may have given you those desires, urges, whatever you want to call them, but
you don't have to give in to them.
He gave you the self-control to manage it.
Yeah. Oh, that just reminded me of something else. I feel like we have been taught to struggle.
Yes.
So I'm gonna give you a story. I'm gonna give you a story from way back in my first couple of months as a disciple. So I just started breaking out of my shell, still very shy, not very outgoing. My roommate, on the other hand, he was very, very outgoing, handsome guy, got a 360 waist, chocolate guy, swole and everything. Like, infectious smile. All the girls loved him. He had a girlfriend, but all the girls loved him. There was even a time where he told me this girl came up to him and said, "Hey, Corey, so when you breaking up with your girlfriend?" And me, I'm like, "Can I get a girlfriend?" Anyway,
dang, girl.
I mentioned him because I started kind of, I guess, taking after him. I started trying to mimic what he was doing. So I'm like, hey, he got a girlfriend and he got the girls trying to get after him. Maybe this will help me just get one. Just one. So I started, just copying things he was doing. So one day I noticed like he would just genuinely look at a girl, smile and say hi. So we were at lunch together. He had already left. He went to class. So me and a few of our mutual friends were walking back to our dorm. Walking from the cafeteria to our dorm. This girl is walking this way. And I'm sorry for any of y'all that are still in ICOC listening to this. I'm about to describe her in very explicit detail. Okay. And I'm saying this just to drive a point home.
Anybody who knows me knows the 2 dudes I was talking about. So
Yeah, there you go. So this girl is what you would consider thick with two C's. She was thicker than cold grits. I'll tell you later the story where I got that phrase from. It's hilarious. Anyway, so she, thick girl, she's got on these form-fitting pink snakeskin pattern pants, white t-shirt. She's got a bandana on her head that matches her pants, and she has a tongue ring. And I just decide I'm going to smile and say hi to her. Hi. And she genuinely smiles and says hi back. Not that, because we all know that smile. That's that. Yeah. I'm smiling because I don't want to reject you and have you say, well, F you then, bitch, you ugly anyway. Like, that's the smile that you're just giving that guys get when they're just trying to nicely reject, right? Oh, yeah. So she gives me a genuine smile back. I'm like, did that work? Did that actually work? Yeah. Fast forward to about a month and a half to 2 months later. I'm a disciple at this point. I'm leaving, same scenario, leaving lunch. This time I'm with some of the brothers. I'm walking down that same path. I see the same girl in the same damn outfit. I don't even look at her. I look down like, because I am taught that if I, you see anything like that, anything, you see a struggle muffin, you look away. Yep. If we saw club flyers, the club flyers, they get all the hot women that aren't going to actually be at the club on the flyer. Yep. We would take it upon ourselves, like if nobody was looking, we snatch them down off the wall and rip them up. Or if they were on the ground already, we step on them and like twist our feet on them to try to tear them up or whatever. Like anything, like you go to the movies with disciples and all of a sudden, like any one scene comes up, the brothers are trying to. We go
Sisters too. To this day, I can't watch certain scenes without feeling real awkward.
Right. Yeah. You go to we went to a basketball game at FAMU one time, and at halftime, I think so there was two dance groups. I think the guys group was Boys of Poison, and the girls were the Venom Girls, I think. Because FAMU, our mascot was the Rattlers, so that fits. Okay, yeah. So the Venom Girls were performing. And, if you watch it today, you're like, okay, that's nothing bad. But of course, to some disciples, it's like, ooh, struggle. So every brother but me, all of a sudden, tried to share his faith with one of the guys next to them. And these guys are like, dude, I am trying to watch the Venom Girls. Why are you trying to share your faith? Like, doing weird stuff like that. Like, we basically were taught to struggle. The whole hug thing, the whole frontal hug thing. I gave no thought to arousal with anybody I'd ever hugged prior to that. And I still don't, but like the fact that that's now on my mind because so yeah, I feel like stuff that's benign, stuff that's harmless, now it's on our radar to struggle with. I'm free now to the point where if I saw same fit girl with the snakeskin pants, if I would see her, I look, she looks nice, and I move on my way. Yeah. If me and Naya are walking down the street, she might even point out to me before I even see her, that girl has a nice butt. I wish I had her butt. And of course I respond with, girl, I like your butt better, whatever. But we're both acknowledging nice butt girl. One, I'm not in the doghouse because I noticed it too. She's cool like that. Two, I'm not struggling.
Sounds like David and
I see a nice booty. I see nice legs. I see red dress, curly hair. I acknowledge it. That's my flavor. And I'm moving on. Yeah. But we don't get, like, it's not like that. Like, I had to mature into that while it wasn't a thing before. I had to mature into it after being taught to struggle. Yeah.
And I think part of that, which I'm probably going to create a new pin for you on a different video, is because it gets so into the world versus the church. Yeah. And so it's such a hard line to try to separate. Well, this is a worldly thing. It's not a church thing. Yeah. That then it ends up tries to create like this them versus us situation. Yeah. Which is then what creates the struggle that never existed, because it's like, well, it's fine if you're in the world to view that and not think it's a struggle. But if you're in the church, you have to view it
if you're in the
as
kingdom.
a struggle. And if you don't, in the kingdom, and if you don't view it as a struggle, then that means you're not being spiritual enough, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm going to end with the thing that reminded me that we were supposed to do this tonight in the first place. I messed up and didn't put this on my calendar. So there was a story I shared. I actually shared it a year ago yesterday, and it came up in my story, my story memories or whatever. I shared it. A good friend of mine, shout out to Toya if you're watching. She commented on it. We got into a good, we were agreeing with each other, of course, but we got into a purity culture conversation. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be talking about purity culture with somebody else. Dang it, Trisha, are we still on the wrong? But this is the thing that sparked that patriarchy. And if y'all were watching at home, watching my eyes dart somewhere, I was trying to find it. So don't think I wasn't listening to Trisha. Patriarchy teaches us that sex for women is a giveaway, while for men, it is a takeaway. She saves herself, gives herself to the right one, and then her virginity is lost. In this equation, there is nothing in sex that is for her to take, whereas he takes and scores, and there is nothing in sex for him to give. When her mind is programmed to give, she struggles to say no. When his mind is programmed to take, he struggles to accept no. Trying to teach consent without first eradicating purity culture and normalizing female pleasure is like trying to teach a bird how to fly after you've chopped off his wings. And that's from Farida.d.author. I believe she has an Instagram or a Twitter. I'll put the thing on the screen when I edit this. But yeah, I read that. Apparently it stuck with me because I've again, it came up in my post from over a year ago. I'm like, yeah, that's how we start dismantling this thing. That's how we get better. Like you said, put the responsibility on the right people. That's not to say it's always all on the men, but we have to. It's us more often than not, and the right responsibility has to be put on the right person in the right situation. So yeah. That's all I got, and I think you said your piece, or at least for now, anyway.
We'll have more conversations.
Yeah, we both haven't said everything, but we both got things to do in the morning. So Trisha, again, thank you for spilling everything with us, for all the horror stories. I know we both had a few to share. I know hopefully this will be the start of good conversations for other people watching this, because we got tons of work to do. Whether you're in the church or not, whether you're part of ICOC or not, we got work to do with this craziness. Thank you.
Healing as well.
Yes, healing.
So tons of healing along with it.
Yeah, healing to do, work to do, forgiving yourselves. Forgiving other people when appropriate. I'm not pushing forgiveness on nobody, but if you feel moved to do so, yes. If not, I'm not pressuring you, because there's some damage from that too. Y'all have a good night, and I will see y'all at the next video. Deuces.
Thank you.
Oh, I meant to ask you, is this new? It is.
This one is. I got this one about 2-3 months ago.
Nice. Now, what is?
Thank you.
At first, I was like, "Ooh."
But it's Medusa transforming back into who she was before the curse.
I love it. Because I recently heard that story about how I guess the real story of Medusa, because when she raped by Poseidon or something like that.
Yep.
And then
while in Athena's temple, because she was a priestess for Athena, and she, after the rape, went to Athena asking for help and vengeance. And Athena was so pissed off that a god even went to her that she cursed her.
Okay, I'm keeping this in there because I feel like
that's why I got the tattoo. She was villainized for something that she had no control over.
Yeah, I was like, I figured that's why. As soon as I realized it was Medusa, I was like,
Yep.
A big light bulb went off over my head. So yes, right. I'm putting this somewhere in the video. I don't know if I'm B-roll, I guess. Okay, now the video's over. Thank y'all for watching.
Yes.
Y'all have a good night. Peace.